Hey, this is a question that's anonymous, and it said, it says the death of David's son, David in the Old Testament. David, the great king, shepherd king of Israel. It says the death of David's son. Why was the child punished by God instead of David, who was the one who committed the sin? It's a great question. If you know the story in brief, David, had an illicit a physical relationship with another man's wife, committed adultery. It's Bathsheba, and she got pregnant. And then, long story short, it's a great story in Samuel. I think it's First Samuel, and he lost the baby. Nathan or Nathan, came and a prophet of God and said, "You're going to lose your kid." And he prayed like crazy and fasted, and God, after the baby was born, the baby died almost immediately. And then David got up and washed himself and got ready. I mean, just lived life. He said, "Well, if God took him," and he was hoping for the mercies of God in this. But why did the baby die? Why did God take it out on him? I don't think he really was targeting David. Did he miss and hit the kid? Well, it's hard to, the anonymous writer said, it's hard to wrap my mind around that. And does this concept still apply today from generational sin? Yeah, it's definitely a truth in sins being passed down and all. I will say this. I'll just write notes real quick and see if I can take this. Number one, I don't know. I don't know, and I don't have to know all the answers. And if you want to say, well, that's some cop-out or something, well, I'll tell you what. The Bible says in Romans chapter 11, who can know the mind of the Lord? Who can be his counselor? His ways are past finding out. Oh, the depth both of the wisdom and the knowledge of God and all that. But does that mean God is evil? Yeah, in your little narrow, I'm sorry, I'm going to get kind of strong and nasty, but in your little narrow way of just putting God in your box and your image of what's right from wrong, and you think your morality is perfect and all that, you have no clue what you're talking about. Sorry, just listen to me out, hear me out. Listen to me out, hear me out. That, it's God is way more wise than you can imagine. And he knows what he's doing. And I'll give you some thoughts on what really could have been transpired. These are my suggested thoughts, especially when you actually know this God. Like, I do know him. And there's way too much evidence of his goodness and his compassion and his kindness and his mercy and his power and all that. So he could have let the child live. But I would suggest, because of the goodness of God, that he did the right thing for that child. For that child. You say, we didn't even give him a chance to live. Well, maybe he knew a future that you don't know. I mean, that's really true, that he knows a future. And David's family at this point, from then on, it was screwed. I'll just say it that way. Poor David. But he brought it on himself. Sin had such a reaping effect that was horrible. And his family, the relations were bad. Absalom got killed, blah, blah, blah. It just went all the way down. It was just messed up because of that one sin. It also kind of gives you the weight and the gravity of doing some really bad mistake before God and sin. But I will suggest that maybe, I'm going to suggest this, that God actually was compassionate then, compassionate. He actually took the child because of his compassions for the child. The child was an illegitimate child, a bastard. And the fact is, we have all that's happening nowadays. Why didn't he just take all of them? Because he knows what he's doing, and he knows the future of that child. He knows the character of the child. He knows the family and everything. He said, well, some families are brought up in horrible situations with abuse. Why didn't he take them? Again, you're trying to be God. You're playing God, and he knows what he's doing. He's given him a chance for this and, to get right with God later. Well, maybe the child wouldn't have gotten that chance. Maybe he knows the character of that child. Maybe it's definitely because sheer punishment and judgment of David. That's number one reason. But behind the evident thing is the thing that you've got to know that and trust God that he's compassionate to that child and bringing him into that family, which could have been horrible. Another reason is because I'll just quote this verse as best I can. Isaiah 57:1. He's talking to the people of Israel, Isaiah as a prophet, and he said, that the righteous die before their time. You ever see a good man and a godly man? They die really early. They get in a car accident or airplane accident, or they get a disease or whatever, and they go down early. You know what it actually says? That no one understands this, and all it says that God is really protecting that person. He saw ahead that what was going to happen through circumstances, situations that is going to be really bad for that person. So he protected him from a worse thing later on that's happening. Just like this baby, maybe he saw that. Maybe he saw that. Another thing is, I believe, in my opinion, all babies go to heaven. There are Christians who, babies in heaven, I'll just say that. There are some Christians who would disagree with that. But there is a passage in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 39, and it talks about the ones who were innocent. Excuse me, he's talking to the people of Israel. Moses is saying that he's going to let them go into the promised land, the ones who are innocent and didn't do anything wrong, and all you older group is not going to get the promised land, because they kept sending over and over, and God was like, I'm done. And they were really rebels and stubborn and everything. And he said, I think there's a hint in that in my opinion, the babies go to heaven. Now, how can babies go to hell when they haven't done anything wrong? But anyway, babies, maybe he just decided, I'm going to take that child, bring him up with me. I'm cool with that. That's exciting. When babies die, that's really helpful, and it's awesome. And I think there's legitimate reason biblically and also philosophically that God really takes them in, and they grow up there, I guess, and become citizens of heaven forever. Woohoo! They actually miss a lot down on here on earth, so that's kind of cool, the corruption and evil and everything. So babies in heaven. And I'll just say, ultimately, if these thoughts here don't really cut it for you, no, that's unfair and all that. There's a point where you've got to really trust in the wisdom of God, and He is far wiser than us, and He is good, and He has power, and He can absolutely cut off people and let them live, and He's got reasons for all of it. He even allows really evil people. We always talk about Adolf Hitler, but there's Stalin and Lenin and Poe, and just multitudes of people, even rapists, child molesters, murderers, all the evil that's continuing and going on. Well, He's got wisdom, and He knows what He's doing. He used Judas of Iscariot. He used him to betray Jesus. And it says, well, it was woe unto him. It would have been better for him not to be born. But in the wisdom of God, He allowed it. For His sake, it was sad, but for God's kingdom and His work. And the fact is, God can do as He pleases. Quit questioning God. It's okay to ask Him, I wonder why, Father. But He knows what He's doing, and He can do it arbitrarily if He wants. But He has reasons for everything. He just doesn't just do it for whatever. I hope that answered the question. It's a good one. All right, God bless.